Welcome to Retrobot, the YouTube channel where we feed a friendly space robot a diet of pure nostalgia. I'm Clay Carlino, and I've been working on a project for a while now where I'm taking a Ducktales Donald Duck action figure and I am turning him into Della Duck. And as you can see, I have made significant headway. So at this point, I've sculpted Della hair. I have sculpted a Della scarf. The hair and the scarf are made out of Sculpey, as is the pant legs for the shorts that I'm making. And I also added a collar for her bomber jacket. And if you want to see how those things went, just look at the previous update videos that I've done. And I also have some chill streams where I just turned on the camera and worked on the figure, and people were commenting and I was working. They're completely unstructured and very long and not necessarily any fun to watch. But if you want to see what I was doing in real time while I was doing it, I've got those. So at this point, I do have the shorts legs here, and you see that I've cut off the feet, and it's because Della's legs, at least the way that they animate her, her legs seem a little bit longer than Donald's. I actually think that what they do is she's got a little bit less lower torso, but because she seems to be the same height, but her legs are a lot longer. So shorter body, longer legs. I'm not going to shorten the body. I'm just not going to do that. But what I did do is I cut off the legs, and the intention is to reattach them. Well, reattach this one a little bit lower, since I've got the shorts there to make up the difference. But in order to have a nice, strong attachment point, then I need to extend this leg. And I also have the robot leg, which is going to be removable, and that's going to fit in there like that. But I'd also like to lengthen this one. That way when you peg it in, it doesn't want to fall out easily. So the problem, of course, with trying to lengthen skinny little leg pieces like this is, how do you make a plastic piece longer and not want to break right at the place where you make it longer? So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do, and I'm going to switch camera views to do it. So you see right here we have the leg, and I've got a very thin drill bit right here. I want to say that this is maybe a 1/16 of an inch. This what does that say? 1/16. So that's a 1/16 inch drill bit, and I'm going to very carefully drill down into the leg here. So let's Okay, and what's cool is that I can actually feel how deep it's going. You have to be careful because you don't want to go off center and have the drill bit come out from the side of the leg, because that'll screw up the next step. So it's down to about there, and so I can just pull this out here, and so yeah, I've got probably about a 1/4 inch deep hole, which is deeper than I need it to be. But once I start putting a piece in there, then I would rather have a little bit more room than I need than a little bit less. So the next thing that I'm going to do is, I've got these little tiny screws. I save screws when I take things apart. Electronic keychains, little broken toys, really anything, I save the screws. So I've got this big bin of all sorts of screws, and so I just picked out a couple little tiny screws, and I'm going to screw this in. Now, if you don't have screws, you could also use like a piece of wire. You can get wire for ceilings and things at hardware stores and stuff like that. But the screws are nice because I can just put them right down in there. And it takes a very, very tiny screwdriver. So, let's see, I just happen to have my toolkit right here. This is just a little portable toolkit that I've been using for years, and it's tremendously handy. So I've got a tiny screwdriver. I'm just going to screw that in. And see, the nice thing is with the screw, I can adjust how long I want this to be. So I think I want to elongate the leg. Is elongate a word? Yeah, elongate the leg by about yay much. That's about 1/8 of an inch. That should be plenty. And then I'm going to do the same thing to this one. And yeah, I need to be very mindful. You see how it wanted to go a little bit off center. So with this blade, I'm just going to make a little divot and put it right in the middle. In fact, I'm going to take off the little knee joint here so that I can feel where the drill bit is going in. That'll give me more control. So there we go. Now I've got a divot in the center of the leg, and I can drill. So, got my little hole there, and I've got my little screw here. And once again, I'm just making that, you know, about 1/8 of an inch longer. Now, of course, that doesn't look like much of anything. That's just a leg that has a screw sticking out of it. But now what I can do, don't worry. Monica is off to the side saying, "Don't I want to put the ball on?" And no, I don't, not yet. Because the ball just fits over top regardless. So I don't have to worry about that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some super glue here. Yes, Dudley. Dudley wants everybody to know that he does not approve of me doing any more videos tonight. I have done too many videos already this weekend, and he does not approve. So you see I've got this bead of super glue around here, and now I'm going to use some baking soda. This is a trick that I use a lot in my kitbashes, using baking soda and super glue as a filler. And the baking soda kicks instantly with the super glue, and you see how that's built up the material in the gap there. And then I'm going to just go ahead and add a little bit more. And it's okay if I make it thicker than it needs to be, because after this, I'm going to sand this whole thing down to the diameter that I want. And that will give me a nice, strong extension for this leg. See, look at that. Now, there is steel in there. That is the strongest part of this whole leg. And so at this point, now all I'll have to do is do some sanding and get that down to the diameter that I want. And then I'll paint it, and it will be like a brand new part. And you can even see at this point that it probably fits in there to some degree. And see, just like that. So I'm going to do the same thing on this leg and then sand them down, and then it'll be time to start painting. Here we go. This is the two legs now extended. Not a lot, just enough to give me the length that I'm looking for. So I can put that right in there, and I can put that right in there, and you see that they fit on pretty well. So now the next thing that I need to do is I want to paint the hair. Della Duck's hair is actually a bit of a cream color. It's not quite white. That's right, Dudley. Dudley agrees. Thank you. So I just happen to have an automotive paint that I think is going to be the perfect color. So I'm going to prime this, and I'm just going to spray paint it. And that's going to be the base coat of the color of the hair. So I keep finding little things that I need to do before I really get into the painting. And the most recent is filing down Donald's tail, because Della's tail doesn't stick out the back of her shorts. There's kind of a bump there, so you know it's in there, but her shorts cover it. So I've filed down the tail a little bit, which I'll show on the other camera. Right here. So I filed his tail down to kind of a nub, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use some super glue and some baking soda, which is my modus operandi for this project, and I'm just going to fill in this little crease where the tail kind of meets the butt. Those are two separate pieces in the toy, but I want it to be seamless, so I'm just going to fill that in. There we go. Just like that. And now a little bit of sanding will smooth out that transition. And there it is. That is Donald's new butt. Delanald's? I don't know. I had a name and I forgot it. But yeah, that's the new sculpted butt. I've also scrubbed off the figure with a toothbrush and some alcohol to get rid of any of my skin's oils. Also all of the sanding and all the dust and everything, so that we can finally start painting. And in between the shots, well, let me just switch camera views. So in between the shots, I've been going down and I've been putting on the primer on the hair. Now, technically speaking, Della's feathers and her hair are all the same color. I don't want to spray paint this figure. I don't want to do it. I don't want to have to mask everything off. So her hands and her face are still going to be Donald Duck white, but the hair will be that slightly cream color, and I'm just going to call that good enough. The paint that I'm using for the hair is an automotive paint with an automotive primer. I'm going to be using different paints for the rest of the body. And sometimes when mixing different kinds of paints, bad things can happen. Things can bubble up. Sometimes it's actually advantageous, but you have to be selective about that. And I don't want to throw too many variables into the wind here. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So the next thing for me to do is to start painting the bomber jacket. Now, I am used to using little testers paints. Uh, these are the paints that I grew up with, and I know they're not the greatest model paints in the world, but enamel paints, they're easy to come by, and testers paints were cheap, and I always got very good results with them. But but a lot of my testers paints are old and dried out, and I need new paints, and I have discovered that you can't get enamel model paints easily anymore. You used to be able to get a pack of testers in a Walmart or in any hobby shop, and now they're just not there. Everything has gone to acrylic paints. So I asked the people at the hobby shop, and they recommended this Tamiya acrylic paint. So I'm going to be trying out these acrylic paints. Now, my experience with acrylic paints is that they don't stick well to plastic. The finish is usually very dull. I'm usually not happy with acrylic paints. The people at the hobby store said that this is what they use and they get very good results. I don't know. I'm going to try it out, but it's frustrating to me that I can't get the enamels that I'm used to. But, things change with time, and sometimes you have to change with them. And I'm willing to try out something new. I just hope that it turns out well. So that's where we're at. I have some paint brushes here. And so, actually, I have a brand new pack. I think that this project warrants a brand new pack of brushes. There we go. And for the bomber jacket, I'm going to start by using this flat brush. Usually for my detail painting, I use the tiniest sable brush that I can find. And let me tell you, in just normal stores, general purpose stores like a Walmart or a Target or something like that, you're not going to find a fine tip stable brush. You need to go to an art store, and even then, sometimes getting a really, really tiny one is very, very difficult. Let me show you what I mean, by the way, for those people who haven't gone to art school and haven't heard terms like sable brush. This is one, and the distinctive characteristic is that it's got a pointed tip. Now, this sable brush is way too big for the kind of detail work that I do. I would want one that is about a quarter of this length, if not even less, and way, way thinner. This is big and fat, so this isn't going to be very good for the details. But I can use this flat brush right here to start doing some of the painting. So I've got my jar of water, and I've got my Donald. I think that was what I decided on, Donald. And I've got my acrylic paint from Tamiya's Colors. So we're going to see how that works. Hopefully it works great. If not, I will tell you about it so that you know not to use it. But I'm going to open this up. And maybe I should shake it up a bit first. See if that helps. All right, well, looks like paint. The bomber jacket is a darker brown. The shorts are a lighter brown, and so I think that You know, this is kind of a medium brown. This looks like it's halfway in between both. So I'm probably going to have to mix up something that's a little bit darker for the jacket and a little bit lighter for the shorts. So I'm going to work on that, and then I'll show you the results. All right, I mixed some of that brown with just a little bit of black, and I think that this is not too far off. And also I know that paints typically dry darker than they look when they're wet. So let's just see how this works. I've actually got way too much on my brush here. So now, the nice thing with acrylics is that they dry quickly. The downside with acrylics is you don't really have a lot of working time. There's a balance with acrylics. You need them to stay wet enough to go on smoothly, but if you make them too wet, they go on too thin. Well, I've made some progress. I have painted the bomber jacket and the shorts, and I have the pant legs to the shorts that are painted as well, and I have painted the collar on the scarf. I still have not done the thank you, Dudley. I'd just like to point out that Dudley has not said a word to me in the last 2 hours until I turned on the camera. Just making that clear. So thank you, Dudley. So what I need to do now is I need to paint the eyelashes. And Della Duck in Ducktales, really they don't do individual lashes. What they do is they just have kind of a thicker triangular curve above her eyeballs, and I need to paint that onto Dell's face. You know, whatever we're calling the midway point between Donald and Della. So here we go. Here's Donald, and get a little paint. This brush is bigger than I wish it were. I just don't have as nice of a little sable brush as what I want. So I got this brush, and I actually trimmed it into a wedge shape with my X-Acto blade to give it to give it the point that I need. At least I hope it turns out to be the point that I need. That's not bad at all. And all of a sudden, you know, it finally really looks like Della. I'm kind of amazed. I am happy with that. So at this point in the video, my audio just got terrible. I don't know what happened, but I'm just going to narrate this. You can see me showing where I've glued the shorts together, and I've maintained the joints at the legs, and I've also glued on the scarf. Now, of course, the scarf is a separate piece from the bits of scarf that I sculpted out of Donald's collar, so I'm going to have to fill that in order to not have that gap there. But before I do that, I decided to coat the legs, at least the top of the legs, with some super glue. And the reason I did that is two reasons. One, to thicken up the part of the post that has to go into the shorts, but also so that it creates an invisible protective layer so that when I'm moving the leg in and out or twisting it around, it's not going to chip away the paint. And so I showed how I did that using a using a clothespin to hold the leg and keep the super glue from dripping. And I did that for both legs. Now here you can see that I've got the super glue in, and I just had to very, very, very carefully fill in that gap with super glue. And then, as you've seen me do all through this project, then I sprinkle a little bit of baking soda into the super glue, and that will harden and give me a sandable surface. So it's acting like a filler. And it's a fantastic technique that that you've seen me use again and again throughout this project. And here I'm just packing the baking soda into that joint with my hobby knife. And then I blow it away, and then I needed to do it again. There was still a little bit of unevenness, some little pits and things that I could see. So I went back in and I added a little bit more super glue, and then I added more baking soda. So, you know, rinse, wash, repeat. And there we have it. It was tedious. You can see that little drop, because if you put too much in, then it's going to go everywhere. And after it dries, I did need to cut away the extra super glue with my hobby knife. Once again, just taking very small amounts off at a time. This part really required a lot of patience, and then some delicate sanding work. The trick was to do this without getting glue or scuffs all over the parts that I had already painted. I didn't want to have to do a bunch of resculpting and touch-ups, and I could have easily fallen into that trap where I have to paint some blue, and then I get some blue on the brown, so then I have to paint the brown, and I get some brown on the blue, and go back and forth and back and forth. So here I'm painting the scarf. This was a matter of eyeballing the paint color. I didn't create any kind of real formula. I just had to match the colors as best as I could and then touch them up. And then it was time to glue on the hair. You can see me putting the glue in and putting the head into the hair. And that felt really good, because at that point, she's done. And look at her. That is a finished Della Duck Ducktales figure. You can't even see the joint around the scarf. Her tail looks just right. Her hair looks just right. I'm really happy with how the robot leg turned out. The robot leg is removable. In fact, technically both legs are removable at this point. I decided that I wanted to maintain the ability to rotate both legs as a pivot. And so I didn't glue the other leg in. I just let it friction fit, so Monica can twist it to get it into slightly different positions. And if she needs Della to lose both of her legs, she can. I don't know why she would. So that's it. That is Della Duck, made from a Donald Duck DuckTales figure. It's pretty exciting. So if you like this project, then please give this video a thumbs up, and consider subscribing to the channel. Click the notification bell so that you know when we're doing stuff. We do live streams pretty much every Friday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and we also have short circuits videos throughout the week, because that's what we do. So thank you so much for watching, and this is Clay Carlino saying keep it retro. Bot.